Hey, everybody. It's time for another episode of the Get to Know Her show. I am your host, Monica Graves. So happy to have you here today. This is very exciting. I am so freaking happy about today. I'm interviewing my friend Jea Geelen. We've known each other, I'm thinking it's almost 20 years now. We have a lot of history. She is the most adventurous, unconventional woman I've ever met. And that's what I love about her. Whenever I spend time with her, I automatically start thinking about things differently. And I cannot wait to share her with you. I'm going to formally introduce you to her. But first, I want to show you guys the fabulous top I'm wearing today. So on the weekend, I went for a super duper bike ride. I wanted to go out for about 20 minutes and ended up out for 2 hours, had the best time, felt like I was 10 years old again. And so today I was in the mood for a little satin, because satin also reminds me of my youth in the 80s. And this top, it's so great because it's satin on the front, but then it's got like jersey on the sleeves, and it's got these little flecks of beautiful little colors on the sleeves. You guys have to get one of these. Like, they are so fun. And if you go to my Instagram feed, you'll actually see a beautiful lady, Tiffany Hunt, who you've seen here on the talk show before. She's wearing the top, and she's wearing one of our bracelets because she won it in a contest. So if you want to get a closer look at the top, just go to my Insta feed and check that out. But also, and then if you want to order the top, of course, you need to go to brendabadome.com and use your coupon code Get to Know Her, because you're going to get 21% off, which is fantastic. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce formally my guest, Jea. Jea was born in Kitchener-Waterloo and has lived in every province west of Ontario. She was adopted at the age of 2, but reunited with her biological siblings at age 19, which brought her back to Ontario. She was born the youngest in a family of 7 with 5 brothers and 1 sister. Professionally, Jea started her career in dentistry, allowing her a few months sabbatical. She decided to travel. Upon traveling, Jea stumbled upon a few ideas that led her down the entrepreneurial path for close to 2 decades. She is proud of her success and grateful for the people she's met along the way. She collaborated with some of Toronto's best talent and worked in companies such as L'Oréal, Estée Lauder, Government of Canada, and St. Anne's Spa. After 10 years, Jea knew it was time for a change. As of late, she is exploring industries and lifestyles that she's curious about, looking forward to making a change that aligns with the highest good of the planet and its people. She's currently back in dentistry, which is allowing space for being still, to hear, and open to what her heart is yearning for. Jea, here she comes. I'm bringing her on. Oh, Jea. I love you. I miss you so much.
It's been a while, Monica.
I know. I was trying to remember the last time we actually hung out, and I feel like, dare I say, it could be 10 years ago almost.
Well, I think the last time I saw you was for your 40th birthday party.
Yeah, but then you did come to my
connection, because I go into my Gmail and I Google you. I see that I missed your 50th birthday party. It looked like you had one, so I totally apologize for that.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, 60 will be here before we know it.
And that's what I'm thinking, 60, 70. Yes, now that we're reconnecting again, it really has been a while.
I know.
I have fond memories of you and your mom and your father. Yes, those were fun days.
They sure were, and we're going to review some of those memories because they're so great. And you know what? We did see each other because you drove out here when I got my new studio space, and I think that was in because I got that space in 2011. So you must have been here in 12, 13, maybe just after my dad died and came to see me.
I worked out in your neighborhood when I did the little stint with corporate. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah,
and I worked fairly close to your studio.
Yeah, that's right.
I was at Winston Churchill and QEW.
Yeah, that's right. So you cruised over here in your little Honda that you used to drive?
That's right. And I'm hoping to get back to do some roller skating with you.
Oh my God, I'd love that.
Because
Yes.
I saw that that's what you've been doing to get the kid out
Yeah,
of you.
I
And
got, there's the skates right there behind me. And I also
okay,
have, there's my skates. And
you
then do you
can do
see,
the rollerblades. I'm gonna do rollerblades.
you're going to do blades? Okay. And I'll do skates. And do you see my little glowing skate underneath? I don't know if you can see that, but a friend gave me that for my 50th. It lights up in neon. It's like a little skate back there.
Your friend knows you
All
well
these,
because that's totally you.
yeah, I love that
That's the kid
stuff.
inside.
Yeah. So speaking of the kid inside, I want to know what little Jay wanted to be when she grew up. You got any recollection of that?
You know, not really. I grew up in an interesting environment where it was more about survival than, thinking about what I wanted to do as I grew up.
Yeah.
But when I think about it, when I did start to have the space to allow me to actually think what I wanted, I actually wanted to be a flight attendant. And I think
Oh,
back then it was more for the traveling, which I've been blessed enough that I didn't take that route, but I have had, the opportunities to travel extensively. So I feel extremely blessed. So, but yes, it was a flight attendant. And back then when
oh,
I was teens, I remember flight attendants. It was a thing.
totally. I
They were
remember
called
having,
stewardesses too.
yes.
I
And
wanted to be a
remember,
stewardess.
yeah,
Because now
stewardesses,
they're called flight attendants. I
they
think
are,
that word no longer exists. Yes.
yeah, yeah. But I told the stewardess thing. I mean, I remember traveling with my parents as a kid and my Oma, and we'd go to Florida or something, and they were allowed to wear perfume then too. And I'd always be like, "Oh my God, I want to be a flight attendant and smell pretty like those ladies." Like, yeah, they were so glamorous, and the makeup was always perfect, and they were,
Totally. Which
the
is
beautiful,
mandatory.
yeah, and the
Yeah,
beautiful
you have to wear
posture.
makeup. It's part of the protocol. And
Yeah.
some of the outfits, I think Singapore Airlines, they were wearing the beautiful, like, yeah, it was Singapore with the Bali robes, and it was just beautiful. Yeah, yeah,
Right. Okay. So listen,
very elegant.
this is so interesting because you ended up designing uniforms. That was your big
That's right. Yeah,
business. And
yeah.
so, yeah, there you go. There was one, there's an influence, those flight
That's right. And I
attendants.
actually followed that industry because of the uniform industry. And
Yeah.
not sure if I ever
My,
did a RFP for any of the airlines, but it was
yeah.
definitely a inquiry when I was in the industry. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we got to back it up because you have done so many things, and you're so much fun, and you're just like everything all put into one package. Okay. So I'm so excited.
Oh, thank
All
you.
right.
So
So,
are you.
okay. So first of all, the reason we met was because we were both selling jewelry, right?
That's
Way
right.
back
That's
in the,
right. So that would have been probably shortly after I came back after a year of traveling to Asia.
okay.
And that was my second time back to Asia. And I went back to Asia at that time to specifically go back to Vietnam, where the whole uniform idea was initiated, I guess, maybe like a year and a half prior to that.
Okay.
And then just a couple of like a week before I left after a year, I was in Thailand and I met some Israelis with a jewelry company. And next thing you know, I'm coming back. We worked with them on the designs and came back with a little tray of jewelry. And yes, I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but next thing you know, I was holding a jewelry show. My very first jewelry show was in my condo, and my roommate at the time did my business card, which was a little bit outrageous now that I look at it. But I don't know. Did you see? Yeah. I don't know if you would have seen the old business card, but anyway, and then I also would go to, actually, how I started off was I would, I lived at King and Bathurst at the time.
Yeah.
And I would walk to Queen and Spadina back in the day. Do you remember that whole row by
Yes.
the Black Bull of jewelry vendors? I
Oh,
got a peddler's license, which meant I had to keep moving, but I was down the way from them. And most of the time I didn't get busted, but I'd walk to Queen and Spadina with a card table on my head. And the more
I
I
love it.
sold, the more jewelry I ordered. So my backpack started to get heavier and heavier. And then I started to do more events. And that's where I met you. Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm so happy you brought this up. Okay. First of all, one thing I want to know, what was the first card? What made it outrageous? What was it? Do you remember?
Well, yes, totally. I was in a swing. I mean, my roommate at the time tried to
Yeah.
replicate me. It was an animation. Hair was
Okay.
everywhere, and I was in a swing in
Yeah.
clothing that I would never wear, let's say.
Okay. Okay. It was a
In the
little
public.
provocative.
Yeah, a little bit. But anyway, I
Fun.
went with it. The business card did get changed again before I ended up leaving the business to a little bit more
Well,
professional business card. But yes.
that's so great. It's so funny how we evolve, Jay. Like I remember my one of the first things I did, I was trying to think of unique ways to show my jewelry, and I made a little catalog, and I was photographing my jewelry on my godchild's feet. Like it was like the worst idea.
But those
You know,
are fun. But I
you
think the
just
process is fun when you're
it
doing that.
is.
Like I remember displaying your jewelry is everything. Yes, and I totally remember you when you started to up the ante and get a professional photographer in and get
Yeah.
studio space and
Hmm.
brand you with your business. Yeah, I remember you
Yeah.
going through that transition. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. You're
and
right.
you
It
did
is.
great.
Oh, thanks, Jay. You're right, though. It's all part of that process, and we just do what we got to do. But
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah, so this is so cool. So the peddler's license too. I can't even believe you said that because I remember when I had my t-shirt biz when I was a kid, I had to apply for a peddler's license, and it was expensive. And I did the same as you. I walked around, I had racks. I wish we'd known each other then. I was like 18 years old with racks on my back, going down to the harbor front, like trying to get a spot
Wow.
there, watching for the police to come around and ask for your permit and running to the next spot, and meeting people who would say to you, like, okay, if you go down to, like, I don't know, front and whatever, there's never any cops down there. You go there, but then there'd be no people either, so you wouldn't sell anything.
That's so
You're
funny. Yes. Part of
like,
that is pounding the pavement. I call that pounding the
yeah.
pavement.
Yeah. So that's what I really love about you. And you've always inspired me. And we've always been able to relate that way because we've
Yes.
never been afraid of that challenge. And I think, it's an
And left the
assumption, but
cushy we also left a pretty stable, cushy lifestyle and chose
yeah,
to,
that's true.
venture out on our own because it was the right thing to do. I
Yeah,
remember when you left the
yeah.
post office.
I know, isn't that crazy? But you were already doing it. Like you had the bravery a lot sooner than I did. Like I still remember. So here you were, like you were hustling. You had left. I think you had left dentistry. I know you're back to it now, but I think at the time you had left dentistry. You were pursuing the uniforms. That was your passion, and then you were
That's right.
hustling the jewelry to really just keep things at bay, keep the money flowing in.
Exactly.
But then
And I also did a bit of dentistry as well. I had a couple things that sort of
okay.
floated me until I was ready to launch the uniform business, which was quite a big undertaking. Yeah. I
Yeah.
was
And
manufacturing overseas, my fabric, and just like deciding on colors because you had to order minimal yardage for
yeah,
fabric and just really never being in the industry. It was there was definitely a lot to learn. So I was getting my fabric
right.
from Korea and then having it shipped to China to have my buttons made because it was too expensive here. And then I was having everything shipped to Toronto and manufacturing in Toronto to really keep manufacturing within Canada. I was really a firm believer of supporting our own economy.
Yeah.
And as well as quality control.
Yeah.
Which was
Yeah.
a big thing. And in the end, quality control was extremely tough to manage here as well. It actually, there was definitely some hiccups with quality control. And it was basically downtown Toronto. Most of my manufacturing took place.
I remember that time, and I remember how stressful it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember it was really hard on you. And that's something I think is good for people to know. Like, that whole expression, don't give up your day job. Like, really, it's interesting. I was speaking with a woman I know, Whitney Hammond, and she's been on the show, and she's an investor. And she said, it's really important for women to create buckets of money for themselves. And you were so good at that because, like I said, you had the jewelry. And then the other thing that you did, which I thought was great, I remember coming over to your condo at Queen and Bathurst one evening, and you'd made a lovely cheese, and you introduced me to those oyster mushrooms, which I loved. And we were sitting there and we're having wine and we're just catching up. And all of a sudden, some kid flies out of a room and goes, "Yo, see you later, going out and blah, blah. Don't know when I'll be home." And you're like, "Yeah, have a great time." And I'm like, "What the hell? Who the hell's that, Jay?" And you said, "Oh, that's my roommate." And I'm like, "You have a roommate?" You go, "Yeah. It's good. I need some extra cash. I rent the room out. The kids are great." And you've always been like, to me, that is something, I mean, to you, it might not be a big deal, but I think North American culture in general, I mean, and I'm in the suburbs, we get used to our own space. We don't want to share all this.
Yeah.
And you've never been like that. To me, you're like,
I actually became like that for a little bit.
You did? I don't believe it.
When I was in a long-term relationship, yes, I did become like that, and it's amazing. And yes, I really did not like that in myself, and it took some time to get out of it. And now, I mean, I remember sorry, let me go back to the kids in my condo. Most of the people that I knew in my condo were usually people through people. And I mean, my longest roommate was for 5 years. And I do feel extremely blessed that I had a 2-bedroom, 2-washroom place at King and Bathurst for 20 years, where when I would go travel for a year or half a year, I would rent out my place and then my roommate would stay. And usually it was somebody that we knew and he would have to approve. But I was quite close with quite a few of my roommates and very fond of the majority of my roommates. So, I mean, I did have the odd kid and interesting circumstance come through as a roommate, but most of the time it was, it just worked for both of us. And then when I bought my place for the last 6 years, it also has really, I started to Airbnb. And at first there was no way I was going to Airbnb with me in it because I thought it was way too small. It was like a master bedroom with a walk-in closet and then the solarium, which just had like sliding glass doors. Not glass, aluminum, and it wasn't soundproof at all. And I'm like, I just can't imagine. And a friend's like, you should do it. And I'm like, there's no way I can do it. I finally did it. It was such a wonderful experience. And I did have so many wonderful millennials that and most of the time at the end, I would only have people in for a month because it's a lot of work. And just it's also exhausting because I was also working at the time, but I just feel very blessed. And it's just the kids that came through really, the majority of the kids really inspired me. So that was so nice.
Interesting.
And yes, I can do it.
You can do it. And so this is so
even
cool.
At this age. Yes.
Yeah. So these kids came, and then were they coming like from other parts of the world? Like, did you get to
Yeah.
kind of meet? Yeah, that's so
Most of
awesome.
them were coming in. Actually, my very first guest, and it was perfect because I was going, like in the last 4 years, I was booting off to Ecuador for a month or two at a time.
Mhm.
So they would come in for a week, and I'd make sure they were okay with my cat.
Oh,
And
good.
soon as that comfort was there, it was like, I mean, I was very lucky because I really had wonderful kids in my place. So yes, I was hosting people from Brazil, quite a few kids from India that were coming into Toronto for work. The gal from Brazil was coming in for a fellowship and working at the hospital. She was working
Mhm.
with, I guess, a fairly well-known thoracic surgeon, people from Israel, locals. So yeah, it just a real mix of people from Ecuador. So, and it's just
Amazing.
nice to learn about other places without really having to go to them as well. Or
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's fascinating. So tell us a little bit about your travels. And did you ever get to your Machu Picchu was your dream, right? Wasn't it?
no.
Or no? Why did
Um,
I?
I mean, out of all the countries that I've traveled, I would
Mhm.
say that Burma and Ecuador
Okay.
were my top countries because of the people.
Mhm.
The people were absolutely wonderful, and those were countries that I traveled alone and
Okay.
felt very safe in. Burma or Myanmar is predominantly Buddhist, and that energy just was exuding through the people, and it
Mm.
was a wonderful experience. So I feel blessed because my brother's since moved to Ecuador. So that's why I've gone back in the last like few years, is
Oh,
to spend time with my brother, and because it's been quite some time since we've spent time together. Yes. So, um, but
that's
yeah,
amazing.
I've traveled extensively, and I feel extremely blessed that I was able to afford to do so and take
Mhm.
those sabbaticals in life. And I'm an advocate of every few years of taking 4 to 6 months off, and whether that be travel or whether that just be in the city as well, I'm
Mhm.
totally okay with. So
Oh, that's great.
it yeah, so it's
So
something that
Jay,
I try to do on a fairly regular basis. So I'm on
yeah.
a little bit of a hiatus right now as well, with
Yeah.
a little bit
Okay.
of dentistry, but it's
Yeah.
temporary work, so I sort of can work when I feel like I should be working.
Perfect.
Hmm.
Okay, I do have to ask you because it's like bugging me now. It's in my head. Remember when we were younger and we would talk about getting married, and there was that you said, "I know where I want to get married," and it was, where was it? I thought I had Machu Picchu in my head.
Jordan.
On
Oh
oh,
yes, you're talking about
yes.
Jordan. Yes.
Okay,
Petra.
Petra. That's what it is.
Yes.
Okay,
Petra's a
Petra.
special
Did you
place.
ever go there?
Yes.
Did you
Yes,
go
I
there?
did.
Oh, okay, cool. And
Yeah, I
was
have
it?
a feeling that I actually, yeah, we were still in contact, and that's probably why, because I could have spent like a week there, and I only ended up spending like 3 days there. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, Jordan is a wonderful country, and it's
yeah.
funny because I was in Israel visiting a friend, and I was there for a couple of weeks, and I just couldn't get my bearings in Israel. It was also really hard travel because of uh, they shut down on the weekend, and it just wasn't easy travel compared
Hmm.
to what I was used to. And as soon as I got to Jordan, it was like I just felt like home there for some reason. Yeah,
Oh, that's amazing. So it really
yeah,
called to you.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that that's
And
so
it reminded
great.
me of India and other countries that I really liked, of Burma as well, of different
Hmm.
countries that I was in Southeast Asia. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. So now
Mhm.
you're on a little bit of a hiatus, you said, and I think I think this is really interesting because since I've known you, it's been go, go, go and hustle with those sabbaticals in between, but you really worked to travel. Like you worked to experience life, and you created buckets of money to allow you to do those things, right?
Yeah.
With different, in
Yes.
different ways. And so now with COVID and not being able to travel and all of that, you've really reduced your footprint on the planet. You're doing a micro living lifestyle that I'm sure nobody who's watching is doing right now. And you're really, like you say, you're pretty much off the grid. And you're really looking, I'm sure all the traveling to Buddhist countries, and that's probably really, you're honing in on this energy of what is it that Jay wants to do next, and how am I going to make an impact
Yeah. Yeah.
on the planet.
You
So
know, yeah, the last,
yeah.
I guess 6 years, I bought a condo 6 years ago. And at that time, I was working corporate. And then within a year of starting corporate and a year into my mortgage, I got let go after 5 years. So I've had to be really resourceful.
Yeah.
And I rented out the place for a year, and I was like, this is the time to go check out things that I've been interested in, that you just get carried away with other things. So I rented out my place for a year, and I went to the Gulf Islands in Canada. It's a set of islands. I went to this island called Salt Spring, which is a wonderful, wonderful island. It's just off of Victoria, and I actually worked at an organic farm and lived in a bus and hung out with my colleagues working the farm. Were in their early 20s, and I think I'm probably the oldest intern on the island, but it was a wonderful experience. And because you're living on an island with drought, on wells, we have to drive the garbage. In fact, this is how intense it was living off the grid. I have to
Tell.
say, I wanted to experience different living conditions to really see how I want to live, as I move forward. And it was intense in the sense of, the outhouse wasn't your regular outhouse. It was like a bucket that you had to like dump out. And
Wow.
I did not know that. And I remember when the first weekend I was there, before I was to start my week of work, the owners were reviewing things, and then they tell me about the outhouse, and my face just drops. And they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, well, I don't know about this. Like, you literally
Wow.
had to take a paint bucket and dump it in an area that was basically becoming organics to put back into the garden, which with manure and that type of stuff, it's worked anyway. But thank goodness the kids that were there, they didn't have their license, so we made a deal. They took out the buckets, and I would take the truck and bring our garbage to the garbage area, like in the middle of the island type of thing. It was like an organized garbage disposal, where there's a place for furniture, there were books. And it's great because when you go drop off your garbage, if you're looking for something, there's areas that you can see if there's anything that you need to bring back to your house. It's like this circular system
Oh,
that they have there, which was really wonderful
wow.
to experience. And then within the same year, I also went to Mexico, and I worked at an eco-friendly guest house. And Lee, who's actually from Canada, has done a wonderful job with sustainability, building her beautiful guest house with different, like one room was like an outhouse, like a regular toilet. I don't know how the system worked. And
Mhm.
then there was running water, and basically all the running water where we were cenotes. It's amazing. I love cenotes. Have you ever experienced a cenote?
No.
They're
Tell
natural
us.
holes in Mexico,
Okay.
of springs of water, and basically people live off of these cenotes within the Yucatan. And we had a pool in the
Holy.
middle of the eco-friendly guest house that was a cenote, which was wonderful. And then the second month that I was there, Lee bought a farm and I lived off the grid for a month, completely off the grid, you know, going back to Girl Scouts, relearning how to light a fire and cook your meal. And I was blessed enough that Jim from Kentucky, he's a botanist. He's lived off the grid in Mexico for 30 years.
Wow.
So he guided me along, and I only had one meltdown. But her
She,
workers, Lee's
what?
workers, farmers there,
Yeah.
said to Jim, "There's no way Jay will last here." And it was pretty rough conditions. Like
Whoa.
you had
So,
to wash your own clothes, but it
yeah.
was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
So tell us
I thought,
what would
sorry.
get what I just want to know, what was the build up to the meltdown? Was it a combination of things, or was there one thing that made you just go, this is too much now?
Oh, it was
What
just
happened?
being out and it was in the jungle. You're out in the
Yeah.
jungle by yourself. It's hot. And it's rough conditions. It wasn't like it was I had a nice stone house, and the lighting system that I had ran on a battery.
Mm-hmm.
Lee did a wonderful job. So I think I got 15 watts was max. And
Okay.
then we also had these solar plastic lights that I would put out in the sun every day, because I hung out at night outside of my hut and just absorbed it. And I actually arrived, it was around full moon, and the whole jungle was lit up. It was incredible. But as the
Wow.
moon started to go, it started to get darker, and you could hardly see anything. And I would use these lights, and I just just
Yeah.
started to
That's a lot.
meditate a little bit more, get connected to nature. And when I came back to the city, I was like, wow, I totally forgot about nature in the city. And Toronto has so much nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got wrapped up in, I guess, keeping up with the Joneses, and
Mm-hmm.
also, I guess, keeping up with what society tells you what you need to do.
Right.
I did get wrapped up in that. So I had to unravel that. And
Yeah.
so now I live in a microspace. I sold my condo, and I'm living in a microspace that my girlfriend owns, and I'm giving that a go. And I absolutely love it. But I can say that I probably don't want to live off the grid to the point where your whole day is taken up doing to survive.
Yeah.
I'd like to be a little bit more productive than that, because
Wow.
your whole day is just about survival. Yeah.
Yeah.
But great
Oh,
experience. Yeah.
wow. You're so brave, Jay. My God. That's amazing.
It was fun. Oh, and
Yeah.
before I got to the farm,
Yeah.
I don't know who told me, but they started to talk about cobras, and they're killing some of the livestock on the farm. And I'm just like, and I was staying in this hut with like a grass roof, and there was like openings. And I have to say, like, maybe for the first couple nights, I was like a little sketched out, but I
Yeah.
made it. And I came out feeling really, really great and accomplished.
That's
It's very liberating.
Yeah, I'm sure. And
Very
it
liberating.
sounds
Yeah.
like it's good that you had other people there. Like in Mexico, how many other people were there? Were you sharing that house, or were you in there on
Oh
your
no,
own?
Jim. I mean, he basically he didn't even live in a house. He just lives sort of in his tent on the ground, and he's lived like that for 30 years. He's like 70 years
Okay.
old. We bike into town to get our food, and he's hardcore. He's
Okay.
like, yeah.
So how do you even
10
find out?
kilometers there, 10 kilometers back, and extremely
Whoa.
hot weather. But I mean, he's lived there for 30 years, and he loves Mexico. Yeah. So
Yeah.
And
So
I love
how does
Mexico too. Yeah. But
how
I
how
was
does
thinking
the
about moving there, but I mean, I can't,
yeah.
there's no reason to leave Canada. It's such a wonderful, wonderful country. And I just feel extremely blessed to be in a country like Canada.
Hmm. Yeah, we have
Really.
it so we've got it amazing here.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to know though, how does the average person find out about a guy like Jim on like how did you find this guy?
Oh,
A
well,
gu-
Lee, so Lee, the gal that owned the guest house and the farm,
okay.
when I was taking my sabbatical, like, oh, and that's another thing. I took a little dip into a rest. I ended up in the service industry because food has always been my passion, and I really, really loved it. And I did a bunch of things, but I actually sussed out Lee. I actually had her saved
Oh,
in my bookmarks for a couple of years. And I was like, okay, so what's my next step? Because my place was rented out for a year.
yeah.
I contacted her and she's like, come on out. And so I went out, like, I think a month later, 2 months later, and stayed at, like I said, the eco-friendly guest house for a month.
Mhm.
And Jim was already living there, and he was
Oh,
doing tours of the farm. So people from the
oh,
eco-friendly guest house would come to the farm and we would give tours. They had like moringa trees, mango trees,
ah,
neem trees. So yeah, he would give tours and I would be, I'd go and follow. And we also had a garden. Jim had a garden and I
okay.
helped him work the garden. And
Wow.
also the compost from the guest house would come to the farm, and learned a little bit about composting. I mean, there's just so many interesting ways to live.
Yeah.
And you know my my value system really has been to be as low impact to the environment as possible, because really
Hmm.
she's our first mother, right?
Yeah,
So
that is so right. God,
yeah, so
that's
we have to
fascinating.
treat her good. But
We do.
I do think city living in a condo, I live in a condo, as I mentioned. I do
Mhm.
it's a sustainable way to live.
Yeah.
I actually drove out to Collingwood for an interview to work at a 100-kilometer store that I was interviewed for. And as I was driving out there, the houses were like 2-3 kilometers apart and happened to be garbage day. And I just noticed, and I noticed the garbage. Well, you see the garbage truck, it has to
Hmm.
go to, 3 kilometers to pick up another person's garbage. It's, in the city here, there's 700 condos here. There's one garbage truck that comes and picks up everybody's garbage. So
Yeah.
that type of thing that I'm just,
Yeah.
exploring. It's not concrete that I'm going to stay in the city, but I'm still on the exploration
Yeah.
side of my next moves. Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. When I was in Germany, like in 1989, they were recycling and we weren't yet. But they were doing what you were saying. Like I would walk from my aunt's house over to an area where everybody disposed of their garbage, and a truck did not stop at every house. It went there, picked up,
Right.
right? And that was it. Yeah.
That's right. That's a
Yeah.
lot more prominent in BC, I've noticed, especially on the
Mhm.
islands. People have to take,
Wow.
and I think when as opposed to throwing down the garbage chute, when
Hmm.
you bring your garbage to the collective area, you're much more aware of your waste.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so
You
true,
actually get
Jay.
to see it. And
Yeah.
when I lived with the kids on Salt Spring, our waste, I have to tell you, I probably had a small garbage bag, like grocery
Hmm.
garbage bag, that like 3 months.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what always gets me is and it's every time I prepare meat that the meat is sitting on this styrofoam thing wrapped in all this plastic. It's so
Painful.
crazy. It is painful. We were
Yeah.
watching this document, or not, it was like on Instagram. It's real. There's a page, I think it's called 60-second docs, and it's 60-second documentaries about people doing really cool things. And there was a guy who was making bricks from plastic bottles. So what he would do is, if he had like some plastic or whatever, or styrofoam, whatever, wash everything up and then shove all that waste, even if you have to cut it in little pieces, and put it in these bottles. And he was like insulating a garage with, like, there's so much
Wow.
you can do,
Yeah.
like, and it's so sad. Even when I walk the doggy and I'm using the biodegradable plastic bag, like, that's going into a landfill. Everything's on top of each other. That plastic can't breathe. It's no longer biodegradable. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we should all just take our dogs to one spot, have them poop in a big pile. It's so hard. Like,
Yeah, I mean, our city, or at least the city of Toronto, with regards to the biodegradable products, our
yeah,
system is not set up to break it down. So
right.
even though, restaurants and various organizations are making the effort, it's still not being disposed of properly because we don't have the resources here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, some collaboration of the various products with the government and aligning and getting the technology in place with
Mm-hmm.
a certain amount of biodegradable products, I think would be an ideal thing. But I don't think
Yeah.
anything like that is in the works. Um, but you're right. I think there's so many byproducts that we can use and not throw out. I actually recently, this week, I saw something come through my Facebook page that this gal gave her boyfriend at University of British Columbia all their chopsticks, and she's like, go do something with them, all their takeout chopsticks. And now he's running a very successful furniture home decor business that they're washing them, they're breaking them down, and they're making them more into like plywood type of wood.
Wow.
And they're not going to waste anymore. And I just think
Yeah.
that's so wonderful. So it's those little
Yeah.
things that I think can make all the difference. And I think also just so much opportunity out there to, you know,
Yeah.
look for creative ways to avoid waste going to the landfill. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
definitely. Yeah, we
And I
really
do
have to.
think that, the since COVID, I think a lot more creative minds are out there coming out with some really
Mhm.
great ideas and hopefully working on some prototypes where we will be eventually waste free.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a whole opportunity to educate people on how to reuse the stuff that they already have. Like, for instance, when you buy 3 bags of milk, the plastic bags the milk come in, they are so strong. Those little
Yes,
three, right? And
yes.
so my mom has always washed those out, and she freezes meat in them. Like,
Oh, that's such a great idea. My mom
yeah.
washes those out as well. Yeah.
Yeah, they're so good. And like, yeah, I mean, I grew up that way. My mom was always like, if she makes jams, she doesn't buy like beautiful little jars from the dollar store to put them in. She gives it to you in a yogurt tub with masking tape on the top, and it says strawberry jam 2020, right? And it
Yeah,
tastes just as good. You don't need all this, the more that we stop buying those things that are
absolutely.
unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because really
Jay,
it's us as consumers that are generating the
yeah.
corporations to continuing
Yeah.
on, making products the way they are. And
Mhm.
even if companies made their packaging smaller, I think that would make, usually I
Oh,
see
yeah.
packaging where there's that much peanuts and the bag's that big. It's
Mhm.
like, why not just have it until we come out with, something that is going to be better for our environment.
Yeah.
But, it's about the label, it's about the packaging, it's about how pretty things look, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know about where you are in Burlington,
Oh.
but in the city, there are a couple of wonderful gals that have started some zero waste stores.
Oh, really? What are they
So you
doing?
bring in your own, sort of like Bulk Barn, but a lot more extreme in the sense of you can even get makeup. You can bring your own jar and get a foundation, a liquid foundation, put in your own
Oh.
container. So I think COVID's put a little bit of damper on their initiatives, but
Mm-hmm.
I I have faith that they're going to come back stronger
Yeah.
than ever in their endeavors. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic because that's the way it used to be. Like when we were getting peanut butter in the 70s, you brought your jar from home. It wasn't, when you went to a health food store or something, and now it's like, no, you have to use our plastic, which is just, yeah,
Yeah.
it's awful.
Yeah. That's what I
Yeah.
love about Ecuador. You get a jar of honey and there's a bee in it, and it's a
Oh,
old whiskey bottle.
I love, see?
That's I want to
Yeah.
be in my honey.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Jay.
Yeah. So, but it's just there's so many restrictions that
Mm-hmm.
are involved with regards to reusing,
Yeah.
particularly food containers.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. I'm excited for you. I'm like, as you're explaining all this and talking about it, I just see you right beside our prime minister, laying down the law. Here's what we're going to do. Do,
Well,
do you see
it's funny that
yourself
you
like that?
mentioned that because I could allow my head to go crazy like that.
Yeah,
Just really down a rabbit hole where, you know, yeah.
yeah,
And I actually used to have my mind wrapped around it a lot more, but I need balance. I mean,
yeah,
well, when COVID hit, I've been trying to get a lot more balance, but before COVID, I was hardcore,
hmm,
low impact, where it would take me forever to do my grocery shopping because plastic was out of the question.
yeah,
And I need to pick it up a little bit. I've been buying a little bit too many coffees because now I can't bring my coffee container. So I'm a little, shameful on that, and that will change. I just need to get out of the habit of doing that because
listen.
those coffee, and it's amazing how many people still think those coffee cups are recyclable.
Oh, I know. And you know what else I can't believe is that people still buy plastic water bottles. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know.
Even that they still sell them, those 2 4s of,
I know.
unless you're going home to make those bottle bricks, like, no, we can't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
this is something that could easily be rectified. It's a
hmm,
couple of signatures within Parliament, and we could get
yeah.
going here. But it's a fight because you
Hmm.
know how the system works. I won't get
Yeah.
into it, but you know
Yeah,
how the system works.
for sure. You know what, Jay? I have this beautiful photograph of my girlfriend and I backpacking. We went backpack through Europe in 1990, and we took the ferry from Gibraltar and we went to Morocco, and we went to
Mm-hmm.
Shushuan, and we climbed up that mountain. And there's a beautiful photo of us where we're sitting like back to back with our legs out overlooking the mountain. And you know what I have in my hand? I have a giant 2 liter bottle of Evian water because that was the year that we all started drinking out of water bottles. 1990. I still remember, like, before that, it was like tap, drink from a tap, right? Like, nobody bought water. That was ridiculous. And I had this Evian, and I remember feeling like I drink Evian. Like, it was like a whole prestige, like, I'm the backpacker with the bottle of Evian.
Right. How
Oh God.
interesting.
Never
Yeah.
even, it's like smoking was.
Likewise.
back in
Yeah.
the day, like that it would never cross your mind that all of this plastic waste would kill our coral reefs. Like, are
Yeah.
you kidding me? And last summer, or 2 summers ago now, I had a beautiful friend of mine from Germany. Her daughter came and worked for me, and she's Gen Z, so she's 19. She was 19 at the time. All about the recycle, like amazing, like so, and also being European too. Like her head was always there, and she had nothing new on her. Like everything was like bought from secondhand store. Everything that was old is cool, blah blah. And I remember I was doing some work with some jewelry, and just to add a little sparkle, I had those little sequins. I actually have one of my masks has them, where it's all like disco little tiny
Yes,
sequins.
totally. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
And I remember she said, Monica, I know, that you like those, but you really should think about it before you buy them, because when they go into the ocean, the fish, it kills the fish. It goes into their system. And I was like, oh my God, like these things that look like fish scales are killing our fish.
Good for her. I am hopeful. I am really hopeful.
Yeah.
That there are going to be some big changes in the next couple of decades, I believe.
I think so too. And I think, going back to like just little things, like instead, when you put something in the fridge, like a salad you haven't finished, instead of putting saran wrap over it, just put another plate over it.
That's totally,
it doesn't.
exactly. It's those little things that make such a difference.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God, I'm so excited for you. I want to like start a business with you now. Save the planet business.
I actually looked through my journal from a year ago, and I see so many things because I write down my ideas, and this is why I sort of need to just sort of be still. Like there's just so many ideas, and I'm all, there's just so many opportunities, but it's like, really, what is my heart? What does my heart want, as opposed to what my brain wants?
Yeah. For sure. And I think anything you do, Jay, you're successful with all of it. And you have such a kind, open heart. Like even just the education piece of it all, I can just see that you would never be a shove it down your throat person. You totally lead by example. You're perfect.
I'd like to think so. I'm becoming that, and that's about balance. I used to be a little bit more intense, but I'm like that. Yeah, I can't react like that. I can't allow myself to react, because that is not coming from a place of love.
Yeah.
It's I have to be empathetic, and I guess I've been blessed enough to go through the journey of really understanding, the impacts that our environment is experiencing right now, even though I think since COVID, there's just been wonderful. It's been reverse. I heard a wonderful story on Vancouver Island. This woman moved to up north because there was this particular whale that she wanted to study. So she moved her family up there, like way, like in the middle of nowhere. And shortly after she got there, a fish farm opened up, and I guess the noise of them building it or whatever, all the whales left this area. I think it was like Sunshine Coast area. And I think it was last summer, after 25 years, they have come back.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I have a feeling it just has to do something with the change that is happening on our planet right now.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. So great things like that are happening. And I mean, I'd like to live like this in lockdown all the time personally, but we can't. Not with the mask, though. I'm done with the mask.
Yeah, I'm so done with the mask too. Jay, I'm so happy. I could talk to you for hours.
Yes, and hopefully we'll have that opportunity this summer.
Yes, I hope so too. So you know what I want to do now? I have to say goodbye to you. I can't believe our time is up here, but I do want to invite you for an Instagram after party. And I was thinking maybe we could share with the people some of our crazy experiences we've had together. Because we have a bit of a history that's a little bit wild.
Certainly do. Up north.
So,
I remember the one time. Remember we did the Bala Cranberry Festival. It was in the fall. I drove up there and I waited for you, and you came in late. And here comes Monica with her smoked oysters and Triscuits for our little treat. Do you remember?
I totally remember. Okay, that's what we're going to discuss. We got some good stuff to talk about.
Great. I look forward to it. So I guess I'll see you at the after party.
Yeah, see you at the after party. I'm going to put you back in the green room now. Okay. But thank you. Great. We loved having you.
Thank you for having me. It's so great to see you.
You too. Thank you guys so much for joining today. That was such a great conversation. I love hearing when people are just, taking their life and turning it upside down, inside out, and making a change to really live for their true calling. So, wow, what a refreshing conversation. Thank you for watching the Get to Know Her show. If you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. We want to have you. And if you click that little bell, it will notify you when a new episode is up. And don't forget, if you want to get some satiny tops like I have on, you want to check out brendabadome.com and use the coupon code GetToKnowHer for 21% off of your order. Thanks so much, you guys, and keep showing the world your sparkle. We'll see you back here next week.